Okay, good afternoon, good evening. I'm sorry. We're here again today to talk about what true self means to us, and also talk about Black culture and where we think it has come, and is it still viable or is it trash, as people are now saying, as the younger generation is saying. So first, let's start off. I'm gonna go with B1 since this was his original thing. What does true self mean to you?
Wow. A question like that is, especially on a day like today. Today is a religious holiday, right? Today is Easter Sunday. Um, the whole thing about True Self, when we first started True Self, just to give you some background, a lot of people said it was too serious, it was too deep. Why would you name your company True Self? Because it has a lot of spiritual connotations to it, right? So I'm going to give a real short answer that we can talk about it. For me, true self is just the essence of who you are. All right, nothing. It has nothing to do with um, what you even believe, right? For me, true self is the life force within all of us. All right, and it has no attributes, so to speak. We gain those attributes when we come here and we learn things and we start to believe things and we start to pick and choose what we like and what we dislike, right? True self is beyond all that. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead, jump in. Don't wait for me to ask.
Well, I'll jump in. It's true self to me, although I do feel, kind of similarly to Todd, but I just think that it is. It might be it's so difficult to put into words necessarily because I think it's an ethereal feeling about what is right for you, what is your happiness about, what is the foundation of everything that you are going to be, are going to give, are going to have. I think that is really, and from my perspective, true self is the thing that allows you to be the most authentic, and therefore you. I mean, why do we become unhappy? Because we're doing something out of character. Someone has made us do something. We are not feeding or using the fuel of our true selves. Society makes us have to get married before we have kids. Society says I have to do this. Society says I have to stop at the stop sign. What? I'm just kidding. That was a joke right there. But those other things, those are the things that clamp down on one's happiness and really take, at least from my perspective, take you away from what could possibly be the ethereal feeling of your true self. So I don't know if I gave you a succinct answer because I don't know that there is one for me. I just think it's kind of like, kind of again, an ethereal feeling that's around me. That's my true self.
Okay. Thank you. Jump in.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll jump in also. For me, true self is also the same as Miss Leslie says about being authentic. Um, in the past, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 months, I've been, having meetings with this group 5 a.m. and we talk about being authentic and what it takes to get there, and it's a constant battle. It's a constant reevaluating of where you are, where you want to be, who's in your life, who you want in your life, family or otherwise, because sometimes your family is the most toxic and you really need to get them out of your life. So just trying to be authentic and listen to what's in your heart brings you to your true self, but it is a constant work in progress.
Okay, cool. Ness, I know you got something to say. Come with it.
Hey, everything sounds this pretty much the same.
You just agree with
We
everything?
have to run the table, huh, Sean? Say.
That's right.
I mean, it is. I mean, it is. But again, I will agree with the struggle of just like you said, just being politically correct and having to follow these certain orders where in your heart you want to go against it so bad, but you just don't know what you may lose from a social standpoint or what have you. But I think that's kind of why we in the situation we in as a totality, because we can't be our true selves.
Hmm. Okay. I'm just let you know what I think true self means to me. Believe to me it means what we originally set out when we started this: the real you, the authentic you, the you who is not the mask when we go to work, who is not the conformed person that we are. Not not to say that you want to break out and do anything rash or uh, irreverenced or anything like that, but just the person that you are, probably at your most vulnerable point. I would say that would be one's true self. Um, I don't know. Some people may have not even experienced that, yet. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, the point you are when you're at your most vulnerable point, I believe that is your true, authentic self. That is who you are.
Yeah, like you said, everybody said about true self. It covers everything about true self. Anything everybody said about it. It's spiritual, and like it
Mhm.
it's not spiritual, but it's very spiritual. True self is your connection to your inner self, and also their connection to God. So it's your whole inner self. So I think that's what true self accomplishes. What it means to me is that your inner self with the
Mhm.
connection.
All right, now with everything being said, everybody going through telling what true self means to them. How does that? How what we just said? How can we impact our culture to make it better?
So I'm gonna just jump in really quick, and I hope this conversation can go this way. You know what I mean? It can be kinetic in this way because sometimes it's hard for me to wait my turn. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, it's no
V1.
turn. Still jump in.
I'm kidding, but you made it. You said something. It was something that you said, Law. It was the true self having talk about the mask when when one has to wear a mask, and then you referenced the idea of work, and it is the most unfortunate and most hypocritical place to be your true self. You can hardly be your true self at work, depending on what your work is. You know what I mean? It's funny,
That's
and
true.
I don't mind sharing this with you. I was actually fired from a job, if you could believe that. Earlier this year, it's the first time actually in my life, and I was like really upset because, number one, because it's the first time that it happened, and I consider myself a winner, and that was like losing, and I just couldn't believe it. I could barely take it, but the thing was, and I was having this discussion with a friend. I thought that what I presented at my interview was who you were gonna get. I wasn't really fronting down the aisle till you say I do, and now I'm gonna be somebody different. You know what I'm saying? And that really caused me to have to look at what I was putting out there, where because I'm happy in the interview session. I love when you ask me a question because I want to tell you the truth. If you ask me, what do I think? You have 3 different ideas to make this department better. I got them. You know what I mean? I got 3 ideas. You just asked me for 3 ideas. Oh, I love that. And then you hire me. I'll go in and, kind of start kicking again. Like, let's start to implement something. I mean, doesn't have to be my ideas, but now I'm talking too much. She doesn't pay attention. She doesn't take directions well. You know what I mean? And then you start having those little. See, what I'm not here to do is be your friend at the job. These little things. She's not social enough with the colleagues. The colleagues don't feel connected to her. Well, why we gotta be connected? You're not my boy. So interestingly enough, when you brought that in, that's where a mask is necessary, not even to just prevent from the spread of coronavirus, but sometimes the mask is necessary to to put over your true self, so you can maybe get to a place where your true self can be, like, if you could be self-employed. That job might have led to me being self-employed, but now it's kicked me back. You know what I mean? Now my self-employment is now way down the road. You know what I'm saying? Because because I did not have the mask on and tried to be my true self. So that's where true self kind of got me in trouble.
Okay.
Miss Leslie, Miss
So,
Leslie, Miss
so
Leslie.
I'm sorry.
well,
So how about so what if we say like so that could be considered your personality, right?
But my
Like
personality is a part of my true self.
right, your personality is what it is, right?
Mhm.
So
That is what it is.
right. So if we look at true self like in that aspect, right? your personality, it is what it is, right? And people can accept it or reject it, but you know, there's all different types of people out here, right? So I guess what am I trying to say? Is true self your personality, and your personality is based on what, right? So let's say we were all born on this planet, and we're all, you know, we born under a certain astrological sign, let's say, right? And that actually if you believe into that, right? It actually informs your personality, or it affects your personality, right? So is that your authentic self, or is that just the energy that you're working with, right? And you're even beyond that, right? Because we all have tendencies, like we may be introvert or extroverted, right? And so what does that have to do with true self, though, right? Your true, see, for me, and it is spiritual, because it goes beyond all of the labels that we can put on. I don't think anybody really can identify really what it is. We can talk about it, right? But again, I think there's so many different energies out here in the universe, and we're affected by these energies, right? Like we say that we are these energies, then we become identified with it, right? But these energies are for us to use. Right, and I hope everybody's with me. So let's say that these energies are for us to use, right? And what I think where we get stuck at is we get stuck at looking at a person's tendencies or a person's personality, right, or a person's ways, and then they get labeled as, well, this is who this person is, right? This is who this person is. I think the question of true self, it often gets confused with being true to myself, doing those things which I feel are right for me. And that's okay, right? Being true to yourself. This feels right for me. This is how I understand it. This is how I see it, right? And so you act on those instincts.
But when we start talking about these things and using any of these kinds of conversations to help our communities move forward, and we're talking about our community is in peril right now, and we could talk all these high level thinking, this and the third, and it is wonderful. We have all reached an age where we are able to do that. Where I think we've probably all been able to do that since we were young. But go ahead, you saw my daughter just walk by me, which really made me think of this. And she's not one of them, but I will say this: go to some kid out here. 15 years old, 20 years old. Ask him what his true self is. You could ask what he did. You could ask him to write a paragraph of what he did last week, and he'd be like, "I don't know what I could write." I know you did something.
Well, see, that question. I don't mean to cut you off, but that question,
no, I love it.
Right, it goes deeper. It goes deeper to the core. I wouldn't expect a young kid who raised in Philadelphia on the streets or whatever to really be able to answer that question, right? But let's go back to something I think Nesto said about we haven't been allowed to be our true selves, right? Being as though we're talking about our community and how this relates to us. We've been under like an oppressive regime like for hundreds of years, right?
You can't be your true self, be one, because you don't know your background from a cultural standpoint to be your true self.
And what
do you mean? Okay, see, I start going.
Let's go. Let's get it.
I'm very interested in hearing like your true self, meaning I've never met a culture of people to cut their hair and put glue in it. Is that your true self?
Okay, well,
I mean, these are the things that I mean.
Honestly, actually, in Africa, we may not cut our hair but they adorn quite vehemently their hair. When you take it way back, and that's actually funny. I just was looking through one of my mom's old books over here about the different cultures there and the different ways, the different extended beads and things that they use. Oh, God, I'm sorry, Nestor. Go ahead.
No, I mean, it's culture, man. You got to have culture to know.
They was putting weaves in Africa. They was doing weaves.
But if then you went
with the super glue be one, with the super glue be one.
But what you didn't mention though, and I'm sorry, Law, just real quick interjection. What you didn't mention is that when you don't know our culture, what about the part of our culture that has been slaves? We either the American black is born of a slave. Okay.
That's
And
all.
there,
Miss Leslie, that I like you.
oh, thank
You
you.
all
That's
right
what's
with
up.
me. You all right with me because that there lies the issue right there.
Yes. You cannot keep ignoring that.
when you say slavery, you know what black people do?
Oh, I
They
ain't no
cringe.
slave. I
They
ain't no
cringe.
slave.
How about this though?
They
How about
cringe.
this? How about this
They
though?
cringe.
How about this
It's
though?
embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
If you look in the Bible, it's slavery all throughout the Bible.
That's why I
Yeah.
shouldn't be
All throughout.
embarrassed. That's
Definitely.
why I shouldn't be embarrassing. It
Slavery
should
is
be
nothing.
embraced.
No, but I'm saying so I don't, because we get caught up in the thinking that it's something that just happened to us.
But that's the regime that you're talking about that has made it feel that way. You know what I mean? That because they don't want to teach it. But
So slavery is a big impediment to being your true self. Let's agree on that, right?
I
How
agree.
can you be your true self?
I disagree. I
You
disagree.
Why you disagree?
All right, no, okay, I can go there. If you, I mean,
No.
don't
You
have-
know,
no,
that's
no,
your
listen.
opinion. I disagree.
listen,
But go ahead.
it can be a big impediment, but a slave can be blissful if they understand who they are. But see, that's a whole nother conversation. But if you're talking about physically being acting according to your own wants and needs and desires, if you're a slave, you can't do those things. You're under
I
somebody
disagree
else.
once again. I
You're under
disagree
somebody-
once again.
Oh, that's just a simple fact. You can't say that somebody.
How did we create blues music? How did we create the
talking
old Negro
about-
spiritual?
about-
How did we create soul food? How did we create perseverance? How did we create family?
Yeah, we created that, but we weren't under we weren't under shackle slavery all the time. But all I'm saying is like the freedom of movement, right? The freedom of expression, right? We did those things. We had we were allowed to express ourselves, but it was like on a chain gang, right? Creating songs to help us keep working fast.
But songs get you from one place to the next.
But I'm saying we've always been creative, and creativity is inside of us. So you can't really stifle that. But
that's a very important point that you just made. And if that's something that we know as the American black, but want to ignore the fact that even as slaves, we were creative, we were perseverant, we were strong, we were all of these things. We were looked to. And matter of fact, we were only enslaved because we had everything that they didn't. Now, well, if I may, sorry, you talk about Nestor. When you go in. I go in on this because my son's father's from Mississippi. I've always been infatuated with the South. One thing I've told my kids, we were down in, it's a very quick story. We stopped at a plantation down there in Natchez, right? Natchez, Mississippi. And I made us walk. We had sweats on, you know what I mean? With air conditioning in the car. So I've been sweat. I said, everybody put their sweatsuits on because we're going to walk through this cotton field, whatever. We get all the way out, maybe about maybe a half a mile into the thing away from the car. I didn't bring any water. My 4-year-old starts crying, right? I said, what you crying for? I'm thirsty. And then my son, he's already sweating, you know what I mean? Yeah. I said, well, the water's back in the car, you know what I mean? Yeah, can you carry me to the car? No, ain't nobody carrying nobody, right? So we go back to the car. Why did we have that exercise? Because this is what your people, that's why I made them put the sweats on. You know, back in the day, you see, what you think they had t-shirts out there? You know what I mean? The women had to wear them long ass dresses. You know, they were out there sweating. Wasn't getting no breaks. Look, all drinking water right now. You ain't getting none of that. You know what I'm saying? But if you want it, the goal is to get back to the car. Ain't nobody carrying you. Ain't nobody listening to you cry. Nothing. But that's what your people are. So when you think you can't study one more page, when you think you can't shoot one more shot, you think you can't lift one more weight, you remember this feeling right here, that if you want the goal, you're going to have to work for it.
Miss Leslie.
Touchdown.
I agree, Miss Leslie, and that is what's wrong with
that's just perseverance. It has nothing to do with true self. What you're talking about is the human spirit's ability to persevere, which is part of true self, but it's just an attribute. So I agree with what you're saying. A lot of people can overcome hardship. All right, put them in a situation, you'll find out. Right. So I'm saying the question of true self has to go a little bit deeper than that. Yes, we are strong. And yes, the human spirit is indomitable, right? And so I don't want to use slavery as a test to say, look how strong you are. This is your.
Nobody ever wants to use slavery as a test. What, you want to use gun violence out here as a test?
Huh?
I mean, look,
only
shows you how weak we are, shooting each other. These boys can't even fight.
If you put somebody to hard times, right? Push them to the breaking point. You're going to see what's inside of them, right? Some people are stronger than others. Some people are simply stronger than others.
I agree, B1.
I mean, it's
I
just
agree
like
with that too.
Nobody's equal. It's not. So all I'm saying is, yes, that informs us of who we are, of our true self, for sure. That informs us, right? Our ability to persevere, our ability to survive, our ability to overcome the struggle, right? So it informs you that you are tremendously strong, right? But that's just one attribute: your strength, your willingness, and your ability to survive, right?
So B1. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this true self since we're on that topic. You're right. There's a various levels of true self. It's the true self of the slave that told the master 7 of them running for their own survival too. Do you understand?
No, what's that? Say that
yeah. Somebody called it the true self. It's a lot of levels of true self. It's the same true self that lets that slave go and tell the master 7 of them are running, boss.
Yeah,
you gotta go get them.
Right. That's a true self.
True self.
But that may not be their true selves. That may just be protective of themselves and not getting caught up in someone else's shenanigans that they've gotten themselves into. They just want to be safe. At that point, some people just want to be safe. Some people don't want to push the boundaries and be outside of their
yeah, because those the ones that run off. They don't know the hell that's caught behind by the other ones because they ran off.
However, Miss Sean, I will ask, or Sean, I will say this: why you gotta go tell? You know what I mean? If I'm running off, that's my business. You know what I mean? All right then.
Because that's the first world answer right there, Miss Leslie.
What?
That's the first world answer right there.
The person told because they knew if somebody didn't tell, everybody else was going to catch hell.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Those are narratives.
It's no different.
They're narratives.
It's no different than
that's what people do. That's what people do now. People do that when you go to court.
Exactly.
They go to court and they tell on the people who was with them.
They do it at the job.
And we're more comparable in a crime, right? So they're going to tell on this person just to keep themselves out of trouble. I don't think that's a part of a true self. I think that's a survival mechanism for them. I think a true self is deeper, is more deeply rooted in you and how you portray yourself. Whether it's just to yourself in the mirror and you look at yourself and you go, I am this, I am that. You know, some people go through affirmations for themselves to get themselves to a point of where they believe that they should be. But it's like every day it's a study of
yourself.
Every day you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm happy with the choices I've made. I'm happy with the job that I'm in. If I'm not happy with the job that I'm in, don't complain about it. Figure out how to get out of it, or figure out how to maneuver your way into being who you are bit by bit in this position that you're in.
I do. I think that's a really good barometer too. Like I can always tell when there's an interruption in quote unquote my true self because I can't sleep.
Right. You know what I mean? and then you try to get yourself out of it, and then you get yourself a good sleep after you figure it out.
Remind myself, like why? Because it's normally something that I didn't do or something that I'm, holding back from something. You know what I mean? Like because that's my true self to tell you how I feel. I don't know if you can tell that. Everybody over here, you can see, like I got a lot of thoughts up in here, and I want you to know about it, especially if you ask me. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes when I don't do that, that's when I'm that pent up like energies and this and the third that make me like hostile.
It sounds like we in a society full of suckers, LL. We got to do all that. If we got to do all this to make it and maneuver, on a planet full of. That's what it sounds like. Oh, I got to maneuver like this because the rest of the world don't get it. When the rest of the world do get it, the reality is
we don't get it.
No. It's 3 kind of people, particularly amongst blacks. You can take this how you want, but You got some that are absolutely oblivious really to what's going on.
Uh-huh.
You got some that do know what's going on, but the majority, this last one is the majority. They know what's going on, but they act like they don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the killer to all of this. How can you be your true self when you know what's going on, but you don't want to act on it because of these fears?
Because it's conditioning, years of conditioning.
Exactly. So
makes you a certain way, and then but you have to be strong enough to do it. It's not for the weak. That whole being who you are is not for the weak.
No, it isn't.
I just said it. We're around a lot of suckers. That's what I mean. The weak. They're complying to comply. And I'm gonna piggyback off this with you, Miss Leslie, from a job standpoint. I don't know what you do for a living, but I know in the business that I'm in, because I deal with children.
Oh yeah.
We can't afford no suckers, but we got a whole bunch of them though.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I'm dealing with children right now.
I hate to say that. We got a whole bunch of suckers in our profession.
Yeah.
And got the nerve to be leadership, a lot of them too.
And it's crazy.
I said it. Suckers.
Yep.
Suckers. Pure.
All they want to do is Mr. PhD, Mr. Principal.
If I get another black person to tell me about a postgraduate degree,
right,
I'm gonna jump off a bridge. What are you doing?
Like, what are you doing?
What are you doing with it? I see everybody else getting established, doing all these things.
Yeah.
So the best you can do is just tell me what you have. Don't tell me what you have.
All they do, wait a minute, and all they want to do is chirp all this language to you. Oh, well, the condition. I'll be like, what did you just say? You know what I mean? But please don't think I don't know what you said, because then this what you meant. You know, because I know you ain't helped them 5 kids over there.
Oh, you know, the government backs up the city government. You know that stuff. You know,
I understand.
And you know the judicial system controls the city government. So they don't have that much. They don't have that much power.
Yeah, but listen. You do. That's the issue. Now I gotta go here, and I don't like to.
Now that's where their conditioning is, because they do have power. They're just scared to use it.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Hey, Boog. Where did you go to school, Boog? Where did you go? Where did you finish school? Where did you go to school?
I went to Del State for master's.
Okay. Now watch this. I want to ask all of you this. Have you ever been to a graduation and they gave out second-class certificates?
No, I never heard of that.
Exactly. They don't say, and now we're going to confer second-class degrees.
No.
They don't do that. So I don't understand how people walking in fear. If you're paying back Fannie Mae and direct loan just like them, you cross the stage just like them, and then you get in a room and act like your education is not better or equal to.
And that's where the American Black has a lot of their issues. They're thankful for their seat at the table rather than understanding you've earned it and you deserve it. It's funny. A good friend of mine.
I took the classes.
You know what I'm saying? Or I know this. I know what I'm talking about.
I took the classes. How is that you can walk in a room and put your tail between your legs, but then when you get around your own folk, I got the graduate degree. I got the doctorate degree. Yep. Act like it when you need to act like it.
I'd be like, so what? I'd be like, man, you got a lot of school loans, don't you?
And this is a part of true, and this is a part of true self. There's a lot of blacks that go home every day in these professional, and they are upset when they look in the mirror because they know they're compromising and they shouldn't be. My issue, and it is my issue, to city of Philadelphia. Every time I have somebody come from out of town here, when they come from the West Coast to come see me, they're so fascinated with the color here for some reason. Oh my God, I've never seen this many blacks. Because we don't have as many blacks.
Are you from LA?
No, Oakland.
Oh, okay. I thought I was going to say Pittsburgh.
No, but I love the Steelers. Shout out.
Me too.
Yeah, see that? You see that? See that? It's all in line. It's all in line. There we go. There we go. Pull it out. Pull it out. There we go.
Okay.
But there
I'm going to about 3 times.
Put that shirt away. We don't do those Steelers.
It becomes an identity crisis because again, I just told you the main 3 kind of blacks. Mm-hmm. And that identity crisis comes with the ones that know but have to act.
But let's though. As black people, we have an identity crisis. As a group of people, we walking around calling each other niggas, right? We have an identity crisis.
Hey, niggas say nigga.
Hold on. That's enough. That's the biggest argument for me for reparations is you got all these people calling themselves niggas. And you got no problem with it, right? We put it in songs and everything, right? So that's true. And I think to add on to what you guys are saying is that part of it is we want to just go along to get along, right?
Period.
So
Period.
go along to get along at the expense of our own true self, our own true nature, and what we know is right, right?
Period.
If you look at all the sports, the slaveries that goes on in sports, talk about football, that's the worst one, right? Because of the way they treat those people, those guys that get out there on the field, right? The worst sport from my standpoint. So you look at just what we have to do to conform, to keep our jobs, to keep that paycheck coming. You try to be your authentic self out here in the world, and you may lose money.
That's true.
You may lose status, right? So it's all part of the same system that's kind of suppressing us from being who we really are, right? They love our culture. They see how creative we are. They join in, they copy our whatever we do, right? And kind of what's that? Cultural appropriation is the word, right? So I think that's one of the biggest impediments for us being our true selves, is being in a system where we have to conform. We have to play the game in order to keep our livelihood.
Can I just get 1 second here? 1 second here, because I do want to shift the conversation, especially after what you just said about culture. To talk about our culture, I don't want to say define it, but to differentiate our culture, because today our culture, as it is on TV or outside, this whole WAP thing, quote unquote, or thought culture, or a lot of our younger people are saying that our culture is trash. But is that really our culture?
No, that's not our culture. Law. That's the imagery that they're giving these young people now, tearing up their sensories in their mind. That's not our culture.
And so then define our culture for us.
Okay,
because
well,
we have a very low, it looks like, self-image of ourselves.
I'll keep it brief with my own opinion of the culture. Our culture is sporadic pieces of subconsciously doing things African mixed with an American way.
I love it. That's good.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. Everybody here eat collard greens and neck bones.
I don't.
Well, I do.
I don't eat that.
Collard greens and
I don't eat chitlins or any of that.
I don't eat no chitlins. I don't eat no pork at all. But the point I mean is,
how about watermelon?
It's a rendition. Greens is a rendition of something African. If you know Africa. Example. I'll give you another example. Black Americans eat fried food. That's not African. No, that's the American that we've learned, because if you go to Africa right now, they're not frying everything. You know what I mean? So it's things that we're doing subconsciously that are African, but we're living in a different world, in a different environment where we're not per se allowed to be that. We're still seeping out because we can't help it. That's what we are. So
how many of you consider yourselves African Americans? Do you call yourselves African American?
Well, I call myself. I call myself.
What you call yourself? Why you call yourself African American?
Yeah, we everybody here. When I
have to mark, when they mark ethnicity, when they mark ethnicity, and I mark other, and because I'm an American Black. I'm an American Black. Because listen, because let me just make this real quick point. The first human remains were found in what we know is to be called modern day Ethiopia. That is that's in Africa.
Correct.
So that's if the first human remains are found there. Doesn't that mean that everyone is of African descent?
But that's not the point.
No. I mean, that was a simple yes or no question.
We're all humans too. We're all humans too. But
I agree. But when we're talking about ethnicities and things of that nature, like that's why I call myself an American Black in that regard, because to me, they don't really mean ethnicity. They really want to know, where you from. You know what I'm saying? And it's you're either this, that, or the third. The American Black, one of the reasons why we have such problems here defining our culture is because we want to sew into a culture that we know nothing about.
Yeah,
For
I
real,
agree
for
with
real.
that. I definitely
It's
agree.
to me. I am not Africans.
Europeans?
They want to talk to me. I'm like, beat it.
But why you
Because
don't want
Africans
to
look at you.
See, you
Miss Leslie, why
can't
you wanna
be
bring-
like
One at a
that, Miss
time. One at a
Leslie.
time.
I'm sorry.
You can't. You gonna chime in on that, Bug? Because
Yeah,
I
why
got.
embrace that African culture though?
Huh?
Why you don't want to embrace it?
It's not that I don't want to embrace it. I mean, my brother is a historian. I've had it shoved down my throat my whole life. You know what I mean? And King this and blah 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 and that. And the first cesarean section was actually performed by Africans. I don't need to know King to know that my people are great. You know what I'm saying? That, like I said, the first cesarean section was performed by an African tribe. So that, and we're not talking about in Egypt. It's on the west. I think it's on the western coast in under Mali or something like that. But these are things that my brother has shared with me. You know what I mean? If anybody is a frat here, anybody frat here? The Nupe,
Yeah.
the Nupe is a tribe that steps with canes. Okay, listen, come on, I've got all kinds of little esoteric things floating back
But Miss
here.
Leslie, and I hate to cut you off.
No, I love it.
You've been see, and there lies the difference right there. Everybody on here, that's the difference right there. You've had the luxury and the blessing of having somebody directly there to give you this history. You got a whole generation of children.
No, he beat me in the head with it.
Well, guess what? Thank God he did, because our children ain't getting beaten in the head with it, and that's why they self is all messed up.
That's because nobody knows it.
Exactly. Nobody knows. Hey, watch this, and I'll sit back on this. Watch this. We're the only people in this country. We're the only people that'll go, though we are African by descent. You never hear Mexicans that are Americanized say, hey, there go Mexicans from Mexico. And you never hear them go, oh, they go look at the Mexicans. You never hear a Korean go, oh, look at them Koreans. Or it's all, but a black man is quicker to go, oh, look at them Africans. But as if you're not African.
Sorry.
That shows you the disconnect and the lack of
education
that we don't have.
Well,
and that's a part of self, and that's why we're not getting nothing done. You got to know where you're going. You got to know
where you came from.
You got to know.
But you got to also understand that where you came from.
Wait, okay. We got a lot of mixtures of stuff in black culture. We mix with European, we mix with African. Some people mix with, or there's a lot of mixture in here. We also got that thing of being from Africa. Right. It's like we don't know ourselves because we got a lot of mixtures. We can't connect with any one of them.
Because we'll go ahead and marry a white girl and a white guy and bake a bunch of mulatto kids, mixed up babies. So, but you know what them Latinos don't do? They don't jump out and marry no white guy, no black guy. No, they're starting to do it. Wait, they're starting to do it now. But for the most part, and I'll give you a celebrity couple, Jennifer Lopez. She's with Mr. Puppy guy. But who she had them babies with? Another Latino. Okay,
that's just her though.
Yeah, no more babies.
But no, listen, y'all. For real,
that's just an anecdotal, topical.
Human beings have been mixing for a long time.
I do
very long time. It's not new.
Because attraction
not
is
new. It's not, and all of us are not from Africa.
But we ain't talking big.
What is it about African culture do we want to embrace?
All right, B, that's definitely what I wanted to get to.
I want to know what is it about African culture we want to
embrace. I gave you one right there. That's the main one we need.
What's that?
You need to learn their system, their social system.
Why?
Elders, rules. Because we walking around here lawless, guys, without no type of internal rules.
We can develop this ourselves.
Chinese are running up in Africa.
We can't get together. We can't get together between ribs and barbecue sauce, yet alone a set of rules. Stop it, man.
Neither can Africa. They can't even speak one language.
Stop it.
Yeah, but we talk about Africa like it's a state or a city.
Right.
No, Africa.
It's a continent.
Right.
So to say you're African American, I'm from two different continents.
Right.
That's what you're basically saying.
Right. I mean,
Which
right.
is not a true thing.
Instead of saying that I'm an American black and I need and deserve and I'm going to get everything this country owes me, or that I'm going to take from it, I'm going to sow into the earth. I grew this place. This place
Right,
never
well,
grow without me.
Right.
I bet you, if I had to go ask 10 people outside to grow some corn in their backyard, they would look at me like I was Chinese and black.
Listen,
and,
but
and
listen,
Guatemalan and nothing.
right? As an American black, right, or ADOS,
Come on, man.
African descendants of slave, right? ADOS, as a person, right? But so what was I? Okay, so there are certain things that were done to you that makes you uniquely separate and apart from those who are from the continent, right? And also, we've been been told things that are not true. Also, all of us did not come from Africa. A lot of us were already here. Yeah, already transversed the globe. So a lot of us were already here, right? Yeah, they did get some from Africa, yes, but a lot of us were already here. This is what I believe. Just looking at our similarities and looking at the history of this country and the tribes that they eradicated, right? There were some black tribes. Who do you think the Blackfoots were? They were black people, right? They were dark-skinned people, right? So they made us believe that these people that they call Native Americans were the only ones here, which is another lie, right? They were not the only ones here. The Olmec heads, they came before Columbus. Right. So there are traces of blacks from Africa being here on the continent, and some of us are descendants.
It had to be because everything was together in the first place. Don't forget.
Right.
Until,
that's way back. Right. That's what I'm saying.
But where you think that all these changes come from? You know what I mean? So,
but why? But the question is that I want to know, why are they asking us to identify? I'm tired of being called black because I'm not black. All right. And there are no white people
in the crayon box.
Right. There are no white people. There are no black people. All right. So why we
whiteies and blacks out here? You know what I'm saying?
Huh?
It's whiteies and blacks.
No, there's no whites or blacks. That's a false
humor.
Right. I understand. But listen, that's my position. I look forward to the day when we can get rid of all of these designations and just live as human beings. Right. But we're far from that. We're still tribal. Right. And so as long as everybody else is tribal, we have to be tribal too.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're tribal. We're tribal, just like in Africa with the apartheid. People were fighting against people that looked exactly like themselves, and they're calling these two tribes, the Tutsis and the Hutus. They look exactly alike. They're sitting next to each other, but they say, "Oh, this person is slightly lighter than I am, or this person's nose is slightly broader than mine," and they're going to fight. It's in human nature to either want what you don't have.
Yes.
You want to be what somebody else is. It's human nature to envy, right? And
why it's a sin.
And it's speaking and about our culture and learning about African culture. Listen, I was married to an African guy, made me hate the whole continent, right? I did not want to hear an African accent. I did not want to come in contact with anyone from Africa for a long time, because for one, and he wasn't didn't come here when he was a kid, and so he was Americanized. No, he came when he was an adult.
Oh,
and he wanted to be everything American. He never talked about what happened back at home, you know. And he lied a lot. And I said, well, what is it with lies? And he's like, that's just what we do. African men lie. And when I hear things coming out of somebody's mouth, I'm just going to believe them until it's proven otherwise. But watching him, his friends, and his family, and going to these cultural events that they had, every single thing that he told me was true. Everything.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't like Africans. I'm like, I can't identify with being African. I mean, and then, it took me some time to get over blaming a whole continent on this one man or this group of people that are now living and I'm a part of this group. I had to get out of that, It's
cultural now. That's their culture.
Like that. And who wants
it's a machismo.
I don't want to be a part of that culture.
It's a machismo society. The West Indians have.
Right. And when we talk about culture, right? Because Law, you brought that up, like that's part of the conversation. True self and culture, right? So, what is it within culture? What are the practices and the traditions and the rituals that we supposed to adopt so that we can be a whole culture in connection with what we say is African, right? Mm-hmm. There are different tribes, there are different religions, there are different customs all over the continent.
I'm tapping out on that one because I don't want to be African.
No, what I'm saying
I like being American Black.
No, you're fine with that, American Black. Yeah.
I believe that we have the ability right here, as so-called African Americans, to establish our own culture, our own cultural traditions, separate apart from what they say.
Can I ask a question?
Right?
We can, as soon as we get rid of true, as soon as we identify true self, we can get.
Well, see, this is the thing. All right, so Sean said something about of us being. It's in our nature to be envious. All of those things that are negative are also part of the true self question, right? So when we have knowledge of self, then we know how to put these different emotions and feelings that we have, behaviors that we have, in a proper place, right? Mm-hmm. So you can be envious, but know that you're operating out of envy because you don't know yourself. You just identify with.
I need to interject here.
Listen,
I've got you because this is an example of true self and of identifying.
I'm gonna finish in a second, right? All I'm saying is this: the things like the tendencies that you might have that might not be positive, we all have them. We got a lower self and a higher self, right? So we can act on any of these tendencies, right? But they're all part of the question of true self. You are evil, right? Or you have the ability to act evil. We all do. Or we have the ability to act godly, right? But that's within the 360 degrees of who you are, right? So the whole question of true self and who we are, we can be any kind of way we choose to be, right? And that's all part of true self, right? So the universe did not deny nobody from taking your ass and putting you in slavery, putting you under the halls of shit. The universe did not deny them the ability to do that.
I just feel that we have to get more modern with examples, number one, of these kinds of things. So young people or anybody that you're going to relay these things to can understand and make them palatable for their knowledge base.
Right.
And I'll just really quick, I have anecdotal stories for everything. You know I do. But I'll tell you, because I lived under, and we talk about true self or recognizing these things. When I was young, I've been 5'8" since I was in the 7th grade. So I was really tall even then. I'm a little browner than my friends. You know what I mean? Everybody's light skinned. Now, I don't know how I got some curly hair now, but my hair was not curly when I was young. It was very thick, very hectic. My nose is different and, whatever, bigger because I was an athlete. I was fuller. But my friends were back in the day, and I'm 48, I'm not telling you. Back in the day, short, light-skinned girls were the it. You know what I mean? And I was so envious. So I used to cry to myself. Now, and I went to a private school. I went to German Academy with the Jewish girls, right? They all got nose jobs when they were 13. I went in, I was stuck in that conundrum. I was like, hey, Meredith's so lucky she gets to have a nose job, and now her nose is all nice, and mine is still the way it is, and Pierre's nose doesn't look like mine. And I was envious. And I was 12. And I'm going to tell you something. I know this about, and I mean, but you know what it made me have to do? Because I was miserable too. But it made me, and I don't mind, listen, I know it's going to sound crazy, but it made me find the other things in me that made me attractive. I became funny. You know what I mean? I became not a clown, but now one of theirs might have been a little dangerous. That I'm like daring. Listen, you want to get it started? I could start it for you. You know what I'm saying? But I became a better athlete. You know what I mean? I became a better student. I said, all them light-skinned girls, they out here, they got this and they got that. But you know where I'm going? But I horseback right now, or I'm doing this, or they ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I had to read. And when I talk about, I use this example because we have to find a way to make it palatable to a young person as to what they're trying to identify to get over. That envy could have made me a nasty person. I could have been out here fighting light-skinned girls. I could have hated light-skinned girls, want to slash up light-skinned girls' faces. You know what I'm saying? It could have made me really a devil. You know what I mean? It could have made me feel lesser, or continue to feel lesser as a person. So I might have grown up to be a whore. You know what I'm saying? Might be, whatever. I might have 10 kids or crack it. I don't know. But I didn't. And the only reason why I use this story as a palatable example is because I was not couldn't identify it then. I couldn't tell you when I was 12 that I'm envious of my cousins. You know what I mean? All I know is I've just felt like less than around them. But because we're older, we have the language, we've had experiences. I can share that with my 11-year-old daughter who's upstairs right now. You know what I mean? Who's going to, she was in a all white school. She was only black girl, having questions about kind of her hair and this and the third. I had a lot of questions about her hair too, by the way. But anyway, but when we keep going all the way back to the African this and blah, 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 that is so far away from the language that is actually going to help save and redirect our communities. I respect it 100%. But I just hope that as we continue to have these conversations, that we may bring something from our own lives and experiences that has proven the kinds of things that you're talking about, true self, identifying what true self is going to do for you. You know what I mean? And using some more up-to-date.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
I agree 100% because the language is important and how we talk to young people is important. The language I like to use, I'm more into kind of like manifestation now. How do you manifest based on what I think I know about true self, right? Not get caught up into these distinctions. But you're right. The language has to be palatable. It has to be attractive to the younger generation. This whole conversation. True self. Who are you? Who are you? And that's what I do. I go when I do my thing. I go in and ask, "Who are you? Who are you?" Just to see who they think they are. And then try to inform them, give them some more information based on my experience, my age, and what I've learned. Because that's all we have on young people is experience, right? They're able to comprehend once they get to a certain age, and we need to share with them what we've learned, right? So,
I just want to say this one thing, especially about the culture, because I mean, I'm just, still trying to, steer in the conversation in that direction when I asked it. I just wanted to say that just remember, this whole African American thing that we would never, as far as our culture, we were never called that. We were when we got here, we was called Negroes, niggers. Okay,
you know boy. You was called boy and girl.
Yeah, you know what I mean, when we got here. And then later on, in another iteration, we were called Afro-Americans. We were which Afro was a hairstyle.
Yeah.
Later on, when Jesse Jackson came along, and we were called African Americans. That's a late term. That is a very
new Afro Americans after Black and I'm Proud.
Yeah, that's a very Johnny come lately term in our culture to be African American.
Well, I'm not that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So then
you're considered that.
So then
I don't care. Not by my true self. I'm not. Whether you consider me is on you. That's not my problem.
But then, like,
tell me that if you want
to, we want to try to hook up or link to something else for our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm trying to get at? It seems like we're. I mean, like Todd said, we're trying to identify ourselves through because we don't know.
We don't know
through a past that we can't. It's very difficult to navigate because we don't know. We don't know because when you talk to say it is African. When you talk to an African, you say, they don't tell you they're African. They tell you they're Kenyan. They tell you they're Ethiopian.
But
you know what I mean? They don't tell you.
Right. Because they know where they're from. Because they know where they're from.
So, I mean, that is part of our whole cultural
miseducation and misidentification. We are American Blacks. If we keep trying to sew into something over there, you're not going to get it.
But if we follow law's description or definition, then that means, Nesto, you're a Texan. I'm a Philadelphian. All right? You're Texas, right?
Hey, but guess what, B1?
Texas, right? Hold on. You're Texas, right?
Hey, that's sad, though. That's sad. And I was going to say, that got to be one of the most uncomfortable. Let me tell you, I don't know about you guys, but that's an uncomfortable feeling. One of the most uncomfortable feelings I have is being in a room full of people who know their culture. They're speaking another language, and you're sitting there looking stupid.
Oh, I speak another language, so I'm cool.
I mean,
What?
I mean,
That
I don't
doesn't
never
have
look
to hold you back.
I don't never look stupid. The thing
We
is,
have, but see, as an American Black, we have a culture here. We do have
and
one.
they want to be
What does
more
it
Just
like
like those kids walking around with coconuts and this and the third because I'm eating coconut soup or fish head stew or celebrating this and that, or I don't even know an African holiday.
What's the
I don't even
culture?
know one.
Because they're not embracing it. I mean, damn. I mean,
Because
they're not
you've been
embracing
made to feel like this is not your place. That is the regime that we are living under, that we've lived under, to make you feel disconnected. How come the Chinese can come here? How come the Latinos can come here? How come coffee shops are open up all up and down the
Can
daggone
I ask
block?
you a question? Can I ask you a question? How you guys feel about us having a country in Africa?
We had
I
one
am not
called
going to no
Liberia.
damn Africa. I'm staying right here.
sure.
Well,
All right, real quick, everybody, because
I'm going to Florida.
believe it or not, great conversation, but we are coming up on an hour, believe it or not. So, I want to give everybody a chance to give a last comment, statement, or what have you, in our last 5 minutes. So,
I've said enough. Thank you so much.
no, everybody's gonna get a chance because it's gonna go round robin. So, I'm gonna start with Boog today.
oh, okay. I'm very brief. I mean, I think with true self, like I said earlier, it's like based on the God in us. You know, I think it's our inner self. I think that's what true self is. It's a spiritual thing. You know, it doesn't matter. You like you say, you can envy. You're going to be liked. You could be unhelpful. That's what true self is for me.
Okay, Miss Leslie.
True self. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for what I'm about to say.
It don't have to be about
true self is this. True self for me is I love me some me.
Terrell Owens.
I love who I am. I like everything about me.
That's
my true self. If you don't like it, sucks. It's terrible. If you like Sean said earlier, it's hard. It takes a lot of strength because it's a lonely proposition to love you some you. And that's it. I'm tapping out.
Yes, you up.
I mean, that's about right. True self is really who you are. And if people can't take it, they can't take it. And I piggyback and say it's the why we in the condition. We have an identity crisis. We fight ourselves when we're alone about who we really are and being that. And it holds us back every day. You and I know it, folks out there in the world watching. You do something every day, you know you really in your heart. You know it ain't you, but you gotta do it. Your lights gotta stay on, your bills gotta be paid, so you'll compromise. And then you wonder in the same sentence why, as a totality, certain things are not happening. So you gotta be true to you. You gotta die one day. Remember that. I think that's what we
man.
You gotta die one day. Don't.
All right.
A long time from now, though, God.
All right, Sean, you up?
Okay, so the true self for me, like I said, is
And speak on anything, not just true self, but anything we've talked about.
But for that, it's just being who I am and trying to meet myself where I am and display the way I feel. And if I can't do it, I try to figure out a way that I can. And for those who understand that they are not living their authentic lives, I don't fault them for it because they may have their reasons. They may not be able to be who they are and still take care of their families. And so then it's a choice. Do I take care of my kids and my husband or wife? Or do I go out full on and be who I am and just be walking the streets and everybody's hungry? So I can't fault someone for not taking the steps to be where they want to be. And culturally, sometimes it's just down to building family cultures because we are made up of so many different cultures, And so what do? Pick which one you want to celebrate? Or do you want to celebrate all of them, or do you want to make your own family traditions with your family and your friends? It's all a choice. Everyone has a choice to be who they want to be, to celebrate how they want to celebrate, and with whom.
Thank you, Sean. All right, B, take us home.
Okay, real quick, I agree with what everybody said. I think Boogaloo said God in you. I think Leslie said love, right? So, right, true self is the God in you, and we should learn to love ourselves so we can be our authentic selves. In this world we live in a world of compromise, right? So that what that means is that we want to act according to what's true to our own nature, but we have to compromise ourselves in a lot of situations because of the dominant culture, right? And that keeps us from being our true authentic selves sometimes. So I think true self is a journey, right? It's a never ending journey. I don't even think you learn until we are eternal beings from my perspective. All right. So once we learn what that's all about, then I think we're closer to who we really are, who and what we really are.
Thank you.